don't really mind the rain. It washes away.
Hi, good morning. This is YC. Welcome to my channel, YC Cooks and Bakes. Today I want to show you how to make a chocolate mayonnaise cake. That's right, I said mayonnaise. And you're going to be surprised at how moist this cake can be. And the reason I looked this old-fashioned recipe up, I've had it for a while. My mom and my grandmother had showed me this when I was young, that you can have a very moist cake with mayonnaise. You know, back then they didn't have all these fancy mixes with pudding in the cake and all kinds of stuff like that. And you just didn't go out and buy one at every whim. And it wasn't too long ago I was in the grocery store and I saw where they had half of a tube. And that's what we're going to use today, is a tube pan, like a Bundt cake that looks like this. And I saw where they had half of a plastic package instead of a round one. And I asked the lady behind the counter, what is that half tube for? Is that just if someone wants half a cake? She said yes. She says sometimes it's just you know, an elderly person or just maybe a man that lives on his own, and by the time they get through the whole cake, it's dry. And they don't want it. They only wanted a little piece or just something they could, you know, cut off to have at tea time throughout their week. And they didn't want any more than that because they felt like they were throwing cake out all the time. So they made these little half tube pans with these little plastic pieces, you know. And I thought, okay. But then I looked at the price. I was absolutely floored. I was shocked. And I'm even shocked at the price of pies lately. You know, you used to be able to get a pie for $3, $4. And then last year I noticed they went to $5 something. Well, this year I actually saw a pumpkin pie for $8. I was like, wow. I couldn't believe it. You could go to Aldi and for a sack of flour and a whole big pumpkin and even a little thing of baking powder, you could get for under $8 and make like a dozen pies. So for me to see one at $8, I couldn't believe it. And I know it's not all about that. Sometimes if you want something sweet, it's what you want when you want it, right? And a lot of people, they don't want cake because it doesn't fit into their diets these days. Well, you know what I found out in all this time that I've lived is that there's a time for everything. There is a time to dance, a time to sing, a time to be happy, a time to cry, and there's definitely a time for cake. And today I want to help you to make a moist cake that you don't have to throw out, or you could freeze and it's still good and delicious. So without further ado, I'm going to show you. And for the sake of the video, I'm just going to use a cake mix because you can use those too. You can do it from scratch out of a cookbook and add this mayonnaise, or you could get a mix like this. And the beauty of it is it's so moist, you don't even have to put icing on it, and you're not going to miss those extra calories. You won't miss them because the cake will be so good. When's the last time you had a cake that was just so flavorful and so good you didn't feel like you needed the icing? Because what attracts us to the food to begin with? We eat with our eyes, right? And you see that icing on, and you're like, wow. Now sometimes I go into a store and I see icing on cakes, and you see these great big flowers and stuff, and you're like, ugh, a little too sweet, right? This, just a light dusting of icing sugar or powdered sugar, that is all you need. Or you could just put some fruit with it. And I guarantee you'll feel a whole lot better about it than putting thick, thick gobs of icing all over it and adding insult to injury, making the cake even more calories. One time, my sisters and I and my mom, we had joined Weight Watchers because, you know, you can see I'm from a large family. And I looked in the back of the book and it had little things you could do to wear off certain foods. You literally have to play 2.5 hours of tennis to wear off a sector of chocolate cake. I was like, now I liked tennis back then, but who's gonna play 2.5 hours of tennis to wear off a piece of cake? So, but still, yet again, there is a time for celebration. There's a time for cake and pies. And sometimes you just have to have a piece of cake with your coffee or your tea. So we're gonna make a mayonnaise chocolate cake. And of course, I always have to leave something. I forgot my scissors. I'll go get my scissors to open this up, and I'll be right back. It's the weekend, so I just threw on a pair of blue jeans today. Okay. There we go. And you're not going to need this. You're not going to need the directions on here. We're not going to do it like that at all. Okay? And instead of all this oil, you're going to be using this and water instead of just dumping oil into it. And we're going to get 3 eggs. It would be a miracle if ever I was prepared, right? What you heard fall was a bottle of water. We drink tons and tons of water in this house. That's Bella, my dog, running by. Okay, so we want 3 eggs. Okay. Very good. Let's put them in here because I'm throwing this out anyway. Yep. And the last one. She's still waking up, I think. She sounds like Jurassic Park sometimes when she yawns. I call her Miss Jurassic. Okay. Now, you'll need to put in a cup of water and a cup of mayonnaise. And it can be any kind of any kind of deep south mayonnaise. I'm using Duke's today. Don't use Miracle Whip. It's a little too vinegary for a cake, you know what I mean? You want it to be mayonnaise. Okay. Take that to the dump. Now, what I will do though is stop and get this prepared first. Okay, so let me move this up. It wouldn't be normal for me to do things in order or to be prepared. That's just not me. You'll learn. It's just put them all over. I'm a mess. Okay, so we're going to use a little bit of this buttered flavored Crisco. And I'm just going to put some on my, you could use spray, I suppose. But I want to dust this with flour because it is a bundt pan. And I take this and I grease my pan. See, so I'm not getting it all over me, but it's still getting in the pan, you know. I hope everyone is having a nice, safe weekend. It has been overcast for about 3 or 4 days here. One day we had a lot of rain, and I think we're supposed to be having more rain pretty soon too. And I'm just going to take this out. I kept it in there to measure how far down to go with that, but make sure you get the centerpiece because you don't want your cake to stick. I was reading an article about like 8 different things you could use to keep a cake from sticking. And I thought, wow, I've never had all those problems. People must really have a lot of problems with these. I guess I just get lucky. Okay, so that's good. And now what I want to do is, you know, dust it with flour. Okay, and I have my flour. Oops. And you probably don't need a lot. Of course, I have a black shirt on. You watch how much flour I get on me. Probably a ton. There, that's all you need is a spoon. And I'll put this away. Okay. Now I'm picking up the flour and I'm going around the centerpiece with it. Okay, because I'll show you what I'm going to do in a minute. And I usually do this over the trash, but I'm not going to stick you in my trash, I promise. Okay, when I get to a certain point, I'm going to take this out. Let's see, I'm going to take it out. And you can see it in there. I'm just going to roll it around. And that's it. Okay. And I will pour the rest of this out in my trash and I will come back. Almost didn't need the big spoon I had. Okay, sorry I'm making you wait so much today. I am going to push this flour away and wipe my counter when I'm all done. Just, now we have a prepared pan and I don't have to worry about that. I can get on with doing the cake. Okay, now remember we just used any old cake mix you have. Of course I bought chocolate for this. And we've got 3 eggs in here. And now, there's no special order. You just use a cup of mayonnaise. And you know, you think it wouldn't go, right? But how many times have you seen things just work out in cakes and breads? Like, look at zucchini bread. If you've ever had a piece of zucchini bread, you're like, wow, it doesn't taste like zucchini, but is it ever moist? And how many times have you gone into Aldi and seen 7-Up cake? 7-Up's a soda. It's amazing what you can put in a cake. I even have a recipe that my mom gave me years ago, beet cake. And it actually literally says it's the beet that makes the cake. You know, it doesn't matter if you don't like beets. I don't. No, actually, the only person that likes beets in my family is my husband. My kids don't eat them either. There's a can of beets in our cupboard. It's been in there forever. Every now and then I have to check it to make sure the date is still good on it. Okay, so 1 cup of mayo. Like I said, no Miracle Whip, please. Oh my goodness. Because if you're like me, you'll go through a house, you'll go through it and see, what can I substitute? I don't have this. What can I use? What can I mean, I've used, instead of milk, I've used sour cream for biscuits. And if you saw some of the stuff I substituted, and it turns out my family doesn't even know. And they're sitting there eating, you know, Mama substituted this, I substituted that. You gotta do what you gotta do. Okay. Well, can I make a mess or what, right? I know how to make a mess. That I'm pretty sure of. Okay. And then water, of course. Are you like me and you can never get these open? Or when you do, they won't stand up straight and they tip over on your TV tray and they get your meal all wet? It's terrible. They're flimsy. Okay. That's it. And you stir that together and it makes the most moist cake you've ever had. And you might think, well, why haven't I heard about this? And you know, a lot of people, it's just pick up and go these days. Pick up and go, or drive through, or let me grab this and grab that. But you know, in these times, you don't want to go to a store just for cake. If you go out there, I'm telling you, don't fool yourself. Make it count. Make it where you needed to get the vitamins, you needed to buy meat for your supper table. You know, have a list. Going out for just cake, it doesn't warrant getting cake, you know, but you could make it from scratch and do this trick with the mayonnaise, the water, and the 3 eggs. Now you could set up, I'm just going to mix it like this. You could set up your, I have beaters. You've seen me make whipped cream with them, but I just don't feel like taking them out. Recently, and I love you, Mom. I have to preface by saying I love you, Mom. She wrote me a letter saying, you know, a lot of people want to know about these recipes, and it's great that you're sharing them with them, and they don't have all this fancy equipment either, and they want to make nice meals for their family. I actually have fancy equipment. I have, and a lot of it is theirs that they gave me over the years that they just don't use anymore. But I have the food processors, great big electric mixers, juicers, meat grinders, you name it. I don't feel like taking it out and cleaning it all. I'm the lazy cook and the lazy baker, but I like good, moist, and good wholesome food. Yes. She says, I don't have all that equipment. I actually have a lot of equipment. I just don't like taking it out and cleaning it. I need to write my mom back. She's so good about doing that. Okay. Look at how nice this is. But you know what cake batter looks like, you know. And don't, like I said, don't worry about the box. But this is gonna bake at 350 for, you know, 50 to 60 minutes, depending on your stove. And then when it comes out of the Bundt pan, you just sprinkle it with a light dusting of powdered sugar, and that's it. You know? And if your cake is good enough, you won't need great, big, thick frosting and icing. And you know, grant you, I get it, like if you have a little child's birthday party or something, you're going to want to do that. In fact, I'm probably going to be doing some cupcakes soon that I have these little pumpkins and little ghosts I want to put on them in candy. And then, you know, a Halloween party, it would warrant doing something like that. but just everyday weekend food, everyday food. That you just want a piece of cake. Sometimes you just want something sweet after dinner. You don't want to add icing into your life on a day in and day out basis. So, Bella, stop. In the morning, she'll drive you crazy sometimes. I love her. She's a mess, though. I'm going to turn up the volume here. And people say, oh my goodness, you use mayonnaise and eggs. Oh my gosh, it's got this, it's got that. No, it doesn't. Remember, it's in this day and age they discovered eggs aren't so bad for you. They got a bad rap for years and years and years. And guess what? It just wasn't true. So, but I mean, you read the information and you assess for yourself, but if you go out and get a cake, I can promise you there's eggs in it. And just like there's eggs in this one. And I think there's 3 eggs written on that box. So no matter, like I said, there's just a time for cake and there's a time when you don't have it, And you don't have to take a huge piece, You know that. Okay. But this is the weekend and I usually like to make something nice for my family on the weekend. Even if it's just an apple crisp with oatmeal and cheese or whatever. Now this weekend is the Canadian Thanksgiving, and I hope all my family, friends, and relatives up in Canada have a happy Thanksgiving. I hope that they do. I love the food up there. Oh my goodness. And they're all cooking for Thanksgiving right now. Pecan pies and pumpkin pies and rhubarb pies. I love this time of year. Okay. We're going to pour this in here. I think I've mixed it enough. Okay. I think you only have to mix it really like a couple minutes. I have to make a mess, right? Okay. Let's see here. Where did I put my... It's under here, and it's got mayonnaise on it. So I am going to wipe it off. There, it's not really going to hurt anything, to be honest with you. And we'll just pour this in here. You kind of just pour it in on one side, and it goes around it. Now, I also use this pan when I do angel food cake. And you've seen in some of my videos, I actually have an angel food cake. And when I do those, I actually turn this Bundt pan upside down when it comes out of the oven. And I put it on top of a bottle. The hole that's in the top of this center, I put it upside down on like a beer bottle or a Coke bottle. And I hang it there for a couple hours upside down. Otherwise, it deflates. So, and that's, you talk about a cake that has a lot of, well, it has a lot of egg whites. Not necessarily the yolk, you know. But anyway. Okay. I don't want to sit here making a mess all day, but there we go. I don't know if I could show you without ruining it, but it's in there. And I am going to bake it. And when it comes out of the oven, I'm going to cool it for 10 minutes before taking this apart. And then I'm just going to do a light dusting of powdered sugar on it. And I will take a picture of it for you so you can see the final product. I hope you give this chocolate mayonnaise cake a try. You will be surprised at how moist it is. And you'll be able to keep it for a lot longer than you will just any cake you can buy like this in the store that's already made. And it won't cost you but a couple dollars instead of $8 and $16 for the big ones. So I hope you have a fantastic weekend. And all my Canadian friends and family, have a great Thanksgiving. And I'll see you soon. And all my new people, please make sure you comment, like, and subscribe. Have a great day. Bye.